It's the next level.
Hey, my name is Ross Marquand, and I play Red Skull. You are listening to Panels to Pixels podcast. Check it out.
I will take her, protect her, and bring her back unharmed. I promise you that.
Hey, panelists, welcome back to the show. I'm Mark.
And I'm Steve. And Mark, I went back to our feed because we've been talking about getting ready for this 100th episode, and I was so excited. And I just realized as I'm looking at our notes that on the May 26, 2018, literally 2 years ago from when we were recording this now, we're recording this May 26, 2020, was in the podcast details. It was the first time, it was like episode 6 or 7, something like that. I should have wrote down the episode number, where you did not refer to me as a guest host. Now, of course, it's later on down the line that I start getting referred to as a co-host, and I didn't want to listen to the podcast to find out where. I know there was a podcast where we officially said, I guess I'm the co-host, but as we get closer and closer to 100, I'm very, very excited. I'm excited at the end of this. It's not in the agenda, but I know we're going to talk about what we're going to do next, and I'm excited for that as well, but I'm also excited to wrap up The Witcher and look forward to the future.
Oh, definitely. And with that, before we actually get into the actual episode, we should listen to Lara's feedback.
Oh, nice.
Don't you think?
Yeah, you didn't tell me we had feedback from Lara for Go.
I just downloaded it today. I haven't had a chance to edit or do anything with it, but I got it.
All right.
So we'll listen to it live and
See what she says.
Hi, Steve and Mark. This is Lara with my feedback on episode 8 of The Witcher, Much More. This was by far my favorite episode of the series. It had drama, it had action, character development, and all the feels. The only thing that was missing that would have made it a 5-star episode was Yaskier. Where's my cheeky and beloved bard? He really needs to come back and come back strong in season 2. Mm-hmm. But as for the episode, all the greats of this season finale. The epic mage warfare. Something I've never really seen in a fantasy movie. Goes to show how just a handful of skilled sorcerers can fight against 100 soldiers. Loved the enchanted Molotov cocktails they were throwing, Triss's deadly magic mushrooms, and that awesome scene where Frangilla teleported a rain of arrow fire into the walled city. That was amazing. And speaking of Frangilla, girl, she has drunk the Kool-Aid. How can she say that there is no light magic and no dark magic? Girl, your side just straight up murdered a bunch of human sacrifices for the sake of dark magic.
Yep.
And Vilgefortz. Who knows which side this guy's on? When he killed the injured mage, it certainly didn't seem like a mercy killing to me. But whatever side he is on, meow, I can see what Tessia has seen in him. It was touching to see Geralt's backstory and how he was abandoned by his mother as a child. When she comes to him in a fever dream, it's my theory that she actually was there healing him, but possibly made herself invisible to the merchant. I felt my heart tug for Geralt when he begged her not to go. Although I do wonder, if she is a mage, how does she have a son? Did she go through the transformation after she had Geralt? Because as we have heard from Geralt, the mages are made sterile, so they can't have any progeny. Anyhow, maybe to be answered next season. But the most emotional scenes in the episode were in the conclusion. I loved the relationship between Yennefer and Tessia. Have you guys ever had one of those strict, no-nonsense teachers in school who you think is a real ass? And then once you've graduated and moved on in life, you realize that you really learned the most from them?
Exactly.
I had an art teacher like that in college, and that's what Tessia was for Yennefer. When Yennefer says telepathically, Tisea, I need you, and then Tisea finds her on the battlefield and says, forget the bottle, referring to her lesson of catching lightning in a bottle. Let your chaos explode. Oh man, I got all the feels. It's as if Tisea was the mother that Yennefer had never had. As she climbed that rock with all the negative things in her mind that anyone has ever spoken to her, she went full-on Targaryen on the Nilfgaard army. I jumped up and cheered. And I loved that she even had enough control over her power to save Tisea. Finally, that last scene where we think that Geralt and Ciri are going to miss each other once again, Geralt turns around just in time to finally find and embrace his child surprise. Something tells me Geralt is gonna be a daddy. And just then, and just there, sorry, traffic. And just maybe there is a certain beautiful dark-haired sorceress out there looking for a child of her own as well? One factoid I thought I'd share. The author of the Witcher novels, Andrzej Sapkowski, I think is how his name is pronounced, grew up in communist Poland. Once you realize this and go back and watch the series, you realize that the Empire of Nilfgaard is most definitely portrayed as communist. As Isrid tells Yennefer when she visits him in Nilfgaard, everyone gets something, but it's just enough to survive. As Yen puts it when she tries their ale, tastes like someone just pissed in my cup. Well, guys, it's been a blast rewatching. Here's hoping that nobody pisses in your cup or repays you with the law of surprise anytime soon. Cheers!
Yeah, thank you, Lara, on that. And yes, everybody, that was unedited. So sorry, Lara, that I couldn't get the crazy cars and motorcycles.
That's all right. We've had that. We've had that experience here in my apartment complex as well a few times. So since I'm not in a closet trying to record,
or under a blanket,
yeah. She makes an interesting point, and that I was really struggling with, and I don't think I put this in my notes anywhere. Was that trying to figure out that Geralt's mother was some sort of mage because she makes that apple appear out of nowhere. And I was really confused about that scene, thinking, well, is somebody else actually, like, it was confusing. And now she makes that point. So I think that's interesting that she says that, because maybe season 2, Yennefer is going to put that together, or there's going to be some moment between her and Geralt where Geralt lets her know that his mother was a mage. And then she goes, well, wait a minute, if your mother was a mage, how did she have a child? And maybe that's gonna like Lara says, maybe that's gonna bring us a plot point for season 2. Very, very interesting.
Well, maybe Geralt's mom had Geralt and that was her child.
Maybe it wasn't actually his mother, biologically. Maybe that's correct. Possible. I did love the moment, again, I don't think I put it in my notes, when the man tries to pay him back with the law of surprise, and Geralt is just like, no, just give me an ale. So I thought that was great. Exactly, and then of course when he gets to his house there at the end, he shouts to his wife, get this man an ale. I thought was really, really good. So yeah.
So the synopsis for episode 8, much more. A terrifying pack of foes lays Geralt low. Yennefer and her fellow mages prepare to fight back. A shaken Ciri depends on the kindness of a stranger. So, yeah, this is the ultimate end to this particular season, but it leaves me wondering, confused, interested in what they do in the next season.
There's a lot of threads they leave dangling. There's a lot of things that they do kind of shore up, but at the same time, they leave a lot of stuff for us for next season. And I really like, one of the things I think we talked about this early on in this rewatch, is that with it only being 8 episodes, it was really some tight storytelling. There really wasn't any wasted time, if I remember correctly. And I think we did talk about that, because Netflix often does these 10, 12 episode shows where when you watch them, you find like 1 or 2 episodes where you just go, ugh, why is this episode here? So it's kind of cool that they kept this one to 8. It was really tight. But saying that, it ends kind of abruptly for me, and I did put that in my notes for later. But
yeah, it does, and I do agree with that. So we should get on, our top 5s.
Don't judge me.
My number 5 is the man at the beginning. I love the fact that we have these two characters, this man and his wife, who we find out at the end is his wife, is the woman from the previous episode, that we have these decent, noble characters. We haven't seen that in this show, except for maybe Yaskier. Really, there hasn't been anybody who's just been, like I said, noble and loyal and just a decent person. Like, everybody has some sort of agenda or some sort of hidden thing that they're trying to manipulate into being done. And so I really like that we have these two characters that bring our story, that bring Ciri and Geralt together as being decent and noble people with no kind of underlying sinisterness. Is that a word?
Yeah.
Sinisterness?
Sinistron or yeah, whatever.
Wasn't that a Decepticon? Sinistron, wasn't he?
Yes, he was. Yeah, and I think I used that as my PlayStation 4 name. Oh, whatever. Yeah, you are correct in saying those things. It's like it's nice to see those characters that come out that are just humble and nice and are able to help others, and to see that within towards the end, and Geralt, like, seeing that firsthand himself. My number 5 would be the beginning fight scene due to the old man trying to bury the Cintron casualties from Nilfgaard. Now, the Witcher gets bit after he stated to the old man not to get bit,
he said,
because it would be all over, according to Geralt,
Yeah, he says even if he gets bit, it would be the end. And then, at the end, when the mage that heals him, whether it was his mother, whether it was Yennefer, or whether it was somebody else, we don't know. Maybe we'll find out next season. She says to him, if his heartbeat hadn't been, 4 times lower than a normal human, he would be dead. So I thought that was kind of cool. Just that idea that his blood, and Yennefer had brought that up early in the season, where she said your heart is beating 4 times slower, or something like that. She said earlier when they met at that city, and he says, well, I'm a Witcher. And she's like, wow, all my years, I've never actually met a Witcher. So I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, definitely.
So my number 4 is all the preparations the different mages are doing, both Fringilla's side and Yennefer's side. They're all doing these different things. It was really, really cool, kind of cool to see how the mages, I'll call them the good guy mages, the ones that are defending Sodden. Yeah. They're putting together these bottles. They're getting their spells ready. They're talking about the strategy, and then we see Fringilla, and she's preparing these mages that she's going to sacrifice, and she wants to kind of test the Brotherhood. So that was really cool to see that. And like Lara said in her voicemail, we've never really seen that. There may be, I'd have to go back and rewatch Lord of the Rings or something like that. There may be somewhere in there where we have mages doing battle, but I don't think we've ever seen, at least to my knowledge, this kind of magical battle back and forth.
Yeah, it was a magical force battle if you think about it, and usually with the Lord of the Rings, it's like it was always like one wizard against another. Saruman the Wise versus Gandalf,
right?
Or Sauron himself, but we never actually really saw Sauron except for a big eye. But the thing is that we never saw a lot of mages or a lot of magicians or sorceresses or sorcerers doing their thing to prepare for battle. And this, we got a mix of everything within the battle scene, and to see how each are very pretty much individual, as you said, that they have their own power and they have their own incantations and how they're able to prepare for battle itself. And I thought that was amazing. I thought that was pretty cool. And my number 4, that would be Nilfgaard banking on getting Ciri or Cirilla. They have a plan and have a mage of their own, but the attack on the people was magic and very destructive. They were fighting fire with fire at that point. They had mages that Tessia didn't see at certain points, if you look at it when you rewatch it.
Yeah, that was another one of those things. That was one of my, I'll give a little bit of a criticism of a storyline that was kind of dropped. Maybe they'll pick it up in the next season. That throughout the season, they've been talking about that they need to catch up to Ciri. And in this episode, they're specifically saying, well, she could have made it to this city, or she could have made it to that city, or wherever she is. And we don't know exactly where she is. And then one of the mages, or maybe it was Cahir, I don't remember, somebody says, well, we don't really need her. And then they're like, yes, we do need her. But then by the end of the episode, it's just kind of dropped. Well, I guess they all die. A bunch of them die, so they don't have the chance to kind of go after Ciri. But it just seemed like that was one of those storylines that we didn't, for me anyway, didn't really get fleshed out as to who Ciri was or is, and maybe that's what we'll see in the next season, some sort of prophecy of who she is. So. My number 3 is just the return of all these earlier characters that we've seen. We get to see King Foltest again, even though it's just for a few minutes. He's, that was the father of the Striga, and so we get to see him. We get to see his army finally arrives. Geralt sees the Golden Dragon in his vision, and that's Stogobor. Stogobor. Wait. Now I'm getting them confused. Anyway, he sees the Golden Dragon, and the Golden Dragon speaks with the voice of the guy who was the Golden Dragon. In the last episode, we saw the wizard from episode 1. So it was really kind of cool to have all these old characters sort of come back, and we get to see them again. And that's one of those things that I don't know if I would have necessarily picked up on it if I hadn't binge watched the whole season and then went back and did a slow kind of rewatch.
You had to be paying attention to a lot what was going on previous to gather everything to get to this episode. And I'm glad you mentioned that we just watch it completely through and then rewatch it. And then obviously, like I said, I said this a couple of times. It took me a couple of times to watch the episode again to get all the finer points, to figure out who's who still, because honestly, you could get lost with everybody that's involved.
It was really cool to have this, and I loved the dragon when he makes that comment. He says the same quote that Yennefer says earlier on the series, where she says, "It's magic, it's not real." And the dragon says the same thing. I really thought that was, again, those kind of callbacks to earlier things was really, really cool.
Definitely. My number 3 would be The Witcher and his dream of his mother. Visions after he was bit while in the wagon. The illusions. He knows a bit about that in some respect. But, and listening to Lara's feedback, I'm thinking somewhat more of enchantment, whether it be from maybe his mother that came back and enchanted him with that apple, or what have you. Now he has to fight them to find the truth and fight for the right within his visions in order to get back to where he needs to. But the funny thing is that we don't really see him in that final battle. It's just his story aside from that particular battle itself. In that battle, if you watch it, it's more about Yennefer and everything that's revolving around the mages and that whole battle itself.
Right. Yeah, it's really cool that he's kind of sidelined from the main battle, the battle there at Sodden, through the whole episode, because he's having his own kind of inner battle. And it's still, even watching and rewatching, that scene was very confusing to me as to, because there's a point where his mother calls him Geralt, and he says, "No, you can't give me that name because Yasamir gave me that name." And we don't know who Yasamir is, and his mother's name was very similar to Yasamir. It was like Vesemir or Vesemir, or like the two names of his mother and the mage that made him into a Witcher are very similar, and it just was very confusing to me every time I watched it. But I think I got enough of a handle on it to really understand what's going on there.
Oh, definitely.
So that brings us to my number 2.
Correct.
This is, I just want to talk about, for a few minutes, Vilgefortz. How do you say his name? Vilgefortz?
Sounds right to me.
I wish we'd seen some more of this guy. We saw him in the last episode. He's the one who goes and gets Yennefer and convinces her to come back to Aretuza and then join the battle and all. And that sword, that magic sword thing he had where he was just pulling out sword after sword after sword was really, really cool in that fight with Cahir. I thought it was really great. I loved Yennefer kind of being the general and directing the different magics. And while she's directing the different mages as they're doing their attacks, she's also giving him advice on his fight with Cahir. So I thought that was really, really cool. I was pleasantly surprised that he survived the fight, and I'm glad that we listened to Laura's voicemail first, because I was confused about who that was that he was killing there at the end. And so Laura confirms that wasn't just, I thought it was just another soldier.
No.
But finding out that no, that's actually one of the mages that was helping them out.
Yep.
Why has he turned? Why has he done that? And maybe that's another thread that maybe we'll get in the next season, or so. But I just I was really glad that he survived, and I'm hoping we get to see him next year.
Oh, same here. And that would lead me to my number 2, which would be Yennefer with the mages, during the fight scene. That was amazing. She was pretty much, like you were describing, a general to all these soldiers of mages. They all come together and make a great battle. And like we already spoke about before, like you mentioned it, I don't think I've ever seen a mage battle like that unless it was in a cartoon or some sort of Dungeons and Dragons encampment that I've gotten involved with, But,
Yeah.
It's one of those that it needed to be depicted, and they're all women for the most part on, the good side, as I call, with Yennefer and the rest of them.
Yeah, that was really cool. I loved that whole thing. Like I said, it was just I didn't really notice it the first time, the way she was kind of directing things and telling people where to go and when to attack. And she was like, hold, wait, now, was really, really cool. And the fact that Tissaia kind of gave her that place, and Tissaia tells her that's what she's going to do. Tissaia says, no, you're not going to go out to the front lines. You need to stay back here and coordinate the fight and kind of hold back your chaos until you're needed. And that brings me kind of to my number 1, which was, I didn't notice it the first 2 times I watched this, either in the binge watch or the first time I watched it this week. But when I watched it the second time, I was like, Yennefer just did the superhero land when she and Sabina, whatever her name is, when they topple off the tower, Sabina lands on her back, and Yennefer just does that whole thing where she crouches down. She's got one arm up and one arm down, and her leg is kind of out. And I was just like, she just did the superhero land. That's so cool. And I just kind of geeked out about it for a minute when I saw it, because I thought it was really, really cool. But then, of course, Laura mentioned it when she goes nuclear and she keeps Tissaia alive was very nice.
Yeah.
And we see that Cahir is alive as well. I'm assuming, did we see Fringilla there at the end? We must have. If we saw Cahir, we must have seen Fringilla as well. But we don't know where Yennefer is. Geralt is off in the woods, and he's yelling for Yennefer, and then he overhears or hears it in his mind. I don't remember exactly how, but he hears the man's wife say something about Ciri ran off into the woods. She's the girl in the woods. And that reminds him of all the talk this season about the girl in the woods. And then we get this very abrupt ending where Ciri says, "Who's Yennefer?"
Yeah, exactly.
They have this really nice hug, and you kind of, it's kind of a, did she realize who he was? Just, was he described to her at some point? I don't remember somebody actually describing what he looks like, but he definitely recognized her. She must have somehow realized, oh, this is the guy who's been searching for me. Because she runs up to him, she gives him a big hug, and they have this moment. And then the last line, of course, is, "Who's Yennefer?" So
Yeah.
I thought that was really, really great.
You cheating on me? Who's this chick?
Yeah.
Yeah, my number 1 would be the same, similar, Yennefer taking that knife from Sabina and the explosion down below, taking out a lot of the villagers. That was very tragic to see. But as you said, that superhero landing. And when I read your notes and I was rewatching for the third time, the only thing I could keep thinking, it's like, oh, she's going to do it. Like Deadpool.
Yeah,
she's going to
exactly.
do the superhero landing.
Yeah.
She's going to do it.
Yeah.
It kills your knees.
When I caught it, when I saw it, I was just like, "What?" Like, I think I paused it and like backed it up and watched it again. I was like, "What?" Yeah. She just did the superhero land.
Yeah, but I don't think this is the real end for Yennefer, because the way they left it off sounded...
Oh, no, she's out there, yeah.
Yeah, she's going to be out there. You know that her and Geralt are going to catch up at certain points. And I'm not going to go into the book stuff that I kind of picked out of my friend, but apparently they do something together in time. That's all I could state, but it's kind of weird. But yeah, then Geralt finding Ciri at the end, that was the one thing that we were all waiting for. And I had that feeling in my head that, they've met before. They have, in some sort of way. And it made me think of that dinner, where the gopher guy comes out.
Oh, But Siri wasn't there.
She
though,
wasn't
because
there, but-
she was in her mother's womb at that point.
Yes.
So that's what I'm saying is it's a little like I can forgive that moment though. I'm going to forgive that moment because she has been looking for him this entire time. So it stands to reason that she knows what a Witcher looks like, or she's been told what a Witcher looks like. She knows that Geralt is
Exactly.
a Witcher. She knows that Geralt is looking for her. So she knows this whole thing about destiny brings people together and all that kind of stuff. So like I said, I can go with her seeing this guy and just suddenly realizing that must be Geralt and then running up to him.
Or maybe the she
Maybe.
heard from the womb, you know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I know that I heard it echoing in my womb when I was there with my mom.
Quit saying womb. It's just too weird.
It is. But yeah, it definitely, everything that happened at the very end literally basically turned into what's going to happen next season. So this
Yeah.
kind of ended on one of those of, yes, we will continue this, but we didn't get that in wording or in any way. You know?
Yeah, Netflix did give us that last card of, there is going to be a Witcher season 2. We did have that announcement before this even started. So, which is why I'm really glad that we're doing this, that we did this podcast, because it's already been announced they're doing a season 2. So we know we're going to have at least 8 more episodes that we'll be able to do in the future, if there ever is a future. So I'm going to do my quote first, because in the chronology of the episode, I believe my quote comes before your quote.
Yes,
So,
it does.
I loved when Tisea was describing what they were going to do in the attack, and Yennefer's reply is, "Oh, a military strategy. We're mages, damn powerful ones." And I love that damn powerful ones, because she's reminding all of them in that boat that, look, we don't fight like normal soldiers fight. So
yeah, it's more strategic, and they know how to use their powers
yeah.
cunningly. And mine would be Vigilfort saying, first she shuns the military, now she's a military expert. And Yennefer just turns back and says, first he speaks to her as though she's not there, and then he loses a limb. And you know exactly where she's coming from.
Yeah. So we've got a few notes here. Let's just kind of go back and forth.
Sure.
The time frame, it's not really clear, the time frame, which we've never really got a clear time frame throughout this whole season.
Yeah.
It is kind of interesting that we get that idea that Ciri is traveling to the house and Geralt is traveling to the house from another direction.
Correct.
With the husband, and Ciri is with the wife. And I love that scene, was so touching, and I don't have it in my notes, but that scene was so touching before Ciri runs out of the house, where the woman is saying, I haven't had a daughter. All I have is sons, and it would be really nice to have a daughter here. It was just really touching. No, like if the woman was nefarious or had evil intentions, it would be creepy. But
Yes.
because we know, or as far as we can tell, we know that the woman is noble and decent, that she really is just, I wish I could have a daughter here. So I thought that was really, really a touching scene. But just this whole idea of Ciri, this whole Ciri season has been about destiny bringing people together. And this here at the end, this happenstance that Geralt meets the husband and Ciri meets the wife. And like Laura said in her voicemail, you almost think they're going to miss each other there at the end, that they're just going to keep missing each other, but they finally are brought back together. It was really good.
And it took the husband and wife to bring them together, if you think about it.
Yeah, exactly. I loved it.
And on top of that, the woman who played the wife seemed so familiar to me, and I was like racking my brain over
She
it.
She looks like Rose McGowan, kind of, with curly hair.
A little bit,
But
yeah.
that's not who. Yeah, I think I looked up who the actress was, and she isn't anybody. But you're right. She looks. It's not Rose McGowan. There's somebody else that she looks a lot like, and I'm racking my brain both these episodes to figure out who it is that she looks like.
Remember the big bug movie from Paul Verhoeven?
Yes,
Starship Troopers?
Yes, the curly haired
Redhead.
And it wasn't. Oh gosh, now I'm gonna have to look that up.
Yeah,
because
look it up.
She's a great actress.
Oh yeah.
What is her name? Starship Troopers. I know who you're talking about, and she doesn't normally. The thing is, what's weird is she doesn't normally look like that.
No.
It was in Starship Troopers. Stop giving me my phone. I'm trying to check IMDb because I don't want to make Dinah. No, it's not her.
Dina Meyer.
It is Dina Meyer. Oh, Dina Meyer. Yeah, Dina Meyer. Yeah, and she looks very, very different though in that movie than she does in almost any other movie she's been in.
And I think she was in Dragonheart too, so she did play some sort of medieval kind of person at one point.
Very cool.
So if you want to see a comparison, look at Dragonheart that had Dennis Quaid, Sean Connery, and Dina Meyer in it.
Mm-hmm.
So
very good. Yeah, that's you got it. You got. Yeah, I said Rose McGowan earlier, but that's not. You're right. Dina Meyer. That's who she reminds us of.
yeah. Mine would be, I love the enchanted bottles that the mages helped with to protect the people from Nilfgaard. It came in really handy during that battle. It was like a scatter grenade, if you think about it. But in the end, when Yennefer fell, all those exploded like a landmine, you know?
Well,
just like just
yeah.
all
Did
just
you
blow up.
notice? Because that boss? Because remember, Fringilla gives. That guy with the weird jacked up face.
Yeah.
She gives him this box and she says, run. And he actually breaches the gates or gets this box put inside the gates of Sodden. And when it opens up, all these worms come out. And when they showed Sabina and those two boys who were dropping those bottles, they had those worms in their ears.
Yes, they did.
So the impression I got was that those worms were mages or some sort of whatever thing to inhabit somebody and make them do your will. And so
and they were used to be bombs as well. So
yeah, and then they dropped those bottles, and the bottles. Yeah, that was so hard to watch.
Yeah, kind of with the worms in the ears. It kind of reminded me of Wrath of Khan.
Yeah, and that one. I think it's the one in Sabina. Kind of sticks its head out and kind of looks around.
Yes,
and then goes back into her ear, and I was just like, ew.
Yeah, I know.
So my second one is after Fringilla gives her initial attack where she says she's kind of testing the Brotherhood's defenses. The next morning they say that there was only 22 of them, and I think the night before they had said there were 60 of them, or I think Yennefer said there were 60 of them, something like that. So they're down to 22 now, so a lot of them left in the middle of the night. So
that's awesome. And my next one would be Yennefer's way of connecting to people. She states that she has lived 2 or 3 lifetimes already, but yet Tessia states that she has more to give, meaning that there are more lives ahead, which kind of predicts of what later on that we see, and we all know, she's coming back.
Yeah, I can imagine. My second to last one is just really quick, just the same thing that Laura mentioned, is that Fringilla using a portal. I didn't realize it until the second time I watched it this time that's what had happened, was that Fringilla used a portal, and then the archers all shot their arrows into the portal, and it came out the other side and attacked the people inside the gates. I was just, it was such a cool scene and a cool use of that kind of that magical power that I thought was really cool.
Awesome. My next one after that would be Tessia's manipulation of Yennefer, but yet Yennefer seems to see it before her in some respect. She sees through the deception.
Yeah, kind of. I don't know if it was really manipulation as much as it was just, I think it was like what Laura mentioned, is just the fact that what we have here is we have the hard-nosed teacher when you're younger who now is meeting up with you as an adult and is dealing with you on an adult level. I didn't really see it as deception or manipulation as much as just kind of almost a passing of the torch, that to say is like, you're the one now who's going to take over.
But you could see it on Yennefer's face though.
She doesn't want it.
She's like, what? Why?
Yeah,
and
she doesn't want it.
Like, this is, you treated me horribly, or it was kind of like, are you being deceptive, or why are you doing this? And then next thing you know, she, we see the end result, obviously, but. And you had another one too, right?
Yeah, just, we've already actually talked about it. Just the fact that Geralt's mother was a mage, and whether that was a dream or not. We kind of already talked about that, though.
And the last one I would bring up, we already talked about it to no avail, the mushrooms of death from the Nilfgaard soldiers. That was a bit creative.
Yeah, very, very cool. So we've already done our feedback.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about the, as a whole, this whole season? I mean, we've kind of already talked about it a lot, but
definitely, I found it really entertaining. As most, you have to slowly develop into it to intrigue you, which it did, and I got into it, and I enjoyed their key characters. I loved Yennefer. I loved the idea of Ciri. There was certain points to it where it kind of got like dwindling, where when Ciri was going off with that kid.
Yeah, the elven kid who ends up abandoning her. That's another one of those storylines that kind of Yeah, I don't know if there's no need to pick it back up again, but that was a little bit of a part of the story where you're kind of like, I guess we had to see her get to Broccolon Forest.
Somehow,
We had
yeah.
we had to have her, like, there were certain story points that needed to be hit there, and then with the shapeshifter
Yeah.
catching up to her, and then the kid abandoning her is still, I'd have to go back, and it seemed like a turn to where once it was almost like once he figured out whose granddaughter she was, there was no redemption for her. She's like,
Exactly.
no, he's like, no, you're just
killed-
like your grandmother.
You're gonna kill my family, and yeah.
And it just didn't, that part, it gave me a little bit of an issue, I think, just of not ringing true, but maybe they wanted to get rid of that character. They didn't need him around anymore or something.
But overall, I enjoyed it, and I'm not
Oh,
saying,
yeah, for sure.
I it's something I definitely want to look into picking up again when it comes back for the second season.
Oh, absolutely.
So-
Absolutely.
But
Yeah, whenever we get a second season.
yeah.
So you've got some comic talk news that you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, definitely. Marvel Disney has officially obtained the license to Namor the Submariner from Universal and is pushing the character within the MCU, according to a lot of sources online. So it seems that my dream is coming true. Those rumblings down under Wakanda are definitely Namor, or Namor, as it were.
It's going to be interesting. I was never a big Namor fan.
I would
just-
love it. I would love to see an Asian actor just come out as Namor. You know, it would be cool to see
Yeah.
Stephen Yeun with some wings on his feet and and a speedo. But we'll see what happens. There's a lot going on within the MCU. They have to bring out mutants. They have to bring out the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but the only other part that I have that would be news would be the Snyder Cut. We all know it's coming out of the Justice League. Will be available soon on HBO Max. And more is coming out little by little every week until that's going to happen. So keep your ears out and open to it like I have, and go on YouTube because there's a lot of interviewers that are doing. They picked up an interview with the guy who actually does the voice of Darkseid for the Snyder Cut version of Justice League. So it's out there. I recommend it. All you have to do is say, search for Darkseid voice interview, and it'll come up. And I got that recently. So I would definitely look into that and keep your ears and eyes open for it. I look forward to seeing it because it's definitely, from what I'm told and from what I hear, it's a very different take than what we got in the theaters.
Interesting. I've never even seen Justice League, so I guess I'll have to watch Justice League before.
Yeah,
just to
definitely.
make a
It's,
comparison.
everybody has their different viewpoints. It's kind of like the way I see it as if you ever watched the Richard Donner version of Superman 2 and comparison to what we got cinematically originally when it came out, it's two completely different movies, in my opinion.
Yeah, I've seen parts of that. I've tried to get it on disc, and I think I got it. I thought I got it somewhere, but maybe I didn't. So I need to watch that again. The Donner cut.
Yeah,
of
it's
Superman 2.
really cool to see.
I know it's got more
Oh,
Marlon Brando
yeah.
in it, which I'm
Yeah,
all in
and the story takes a little bit of a twist, but I always highly recommend it. And it's funny, since I have the box set of Superman on DVD, yes, it's on DVD. I don't have Blu-ray, but they give you the Donner cut of that, and I always seem to draw myself to that than the actual movie that I grew up on with.
Yeah, like I said, I thought I had it, but I recently went looking for it in my library and couldn't find it. So.
That's something I recommend.
So a couple of podcast recommendations. The Spotlight with Ben Beck on the Next Level Podcast Network. He interviewed actor MC Gainey on the May 20th episode. That was from last week. Very entertaining guy MC Gainey is. The quality, the phone quality gave a little bit of trouble in spots, but it's definitely worth a listen to. The Spotlight with Ben Beck here on the Next Level Podcast Network. And then this week, they are on We Have to Go Back, Lost Revisited. They are talking to MC Gainey. I think both Kristen and Ben are going to talk to MC Gainey just about Lost. So this week's episode, I highly recommend checking out this week's episode of We Have to Go Back, Lost Revisited.
Definitely. And I have to add Strange Indeed with Rima on Podcastica. And she's doing a lot now with a lot of multiple guests lately. And I'm intrigued at what she has planned next. And you, sir, were on the last one.
I did. I was on last week, Strange Indeed. We reviewed Gerald's Game, had a really, really good time. Went about an hour and a half, much longer than I thought we were going to go, and just had a really good time. Rima and I and Mark, we've all met each other in real life, and are very just good friends, and that's what it was like. It was like just having a conversation about a disturbing movie, but it was good. We worked through it. It was cathartic, and I highly recommend checking out Strange Indeed, especially last week.
There you go.
There's a special guy.
And with YouTube recommendations, with all the reopening of states, I would say I'd highly recommend Tim Tracker on YouTube. He does a YouTube with his wife about the Disney parks, and I think this is a good thing to watch at this point when people are looking to go back, and now that with Disney looking to reopen, they have he went to a press day where they were able to go into one of the Disney, not parks, but recreation centers where they have restaurants and things of that nature. And it gives you a good perspective of what he was able to take video of and talk to the people that work there on how the guidelines are going to be when you go to those parks. So I highly recommend, if you are looking to book your Disney vacation or you already have, look into that to know what to expect when you're out there, because things are not like what they used to be, and you can't really be in like a congregated area as you used to. So a lot of social distancing. There's going to be people there to guide you. There's going to be a lot of hand sanitizer use and stations around, as well as sinks and things to wash your hands with. And it's something I highly recommend. So if you guys are out there, you're looking on doing something in vacations of that respect in the Florida area, I recommend those.
Very cool. Well, you can submit your feedback to us. Oh, actually, before we get to our feedback section, Mark, let's talk about what we're going to do next, or what we're thinking about doing next.
Oh, that's a done deal. You said it.
If you want, is it all right? Those of you that know or may not know, TNT has has a new show called Snowpiercer, based on the French graphic novel that the 2013 Snowpiercer movie was based off from as well. It stars Jennifer Connelly, i.e., aka Mrs. Paul Bettany, that guy, and
Captain America himself.
David, no, he's in the movie.
Yeah.
Chris Evans is in the movie,
Yes.
but in the TV show, it's Jennifer Connelly and David Diggs.
Yes.
Are in and there's some very lovely actors. I've watched the first couple episodes, but next week or the week after, depending on how the scheduling works out, we are going to record one episode at a time of the new TV show Snowpiercer. So if you have TNT or access to the TNT app, I highly recommend it. I love the show. I've watched the 2 episodes and I'm in. So that's what we're going to be doing. So if you have a chance to check out Snowpiercer, you can send your feedback to us on our Facebook page at facebook.com/panelstopixels, or send us an email at panelstopixels1@gmail.com. That's panelstopixels1, the TO spelled out right there in the middle, the number 1, @gmail.com. You can also send us a voicemail. Have we ever gotten a voicemail from, besides me, on the phone line?
No.
yet?
Literally what Lara does is record it and sends it through email.
Yeah, that's what most people do. But we do have a phone number if you want to give us a call. You can give us a call at 845-350-2095. And we also have a YouTube channel, which is Panels to Pixels Podcast. Check it out on YouTube. You can find us on any of your podcast player of choice, hopefully. Just search for Panels to Pixels, and we're right there on Spotify, Google Play, Apple iTunes. There's a bunch of them out there.
Yeah.
Whatever you use, if you're able to give us a review, I want to apologize. Next week there was a couple of reviews from March that I don't know how we completely missed them. I will have them in our agenda next week to share with you. And if any new reviews come in from Apple iTunes or any other location, we will be sharing those very soon.
Or Podchaser. You could actually acknowledge us through Podchaser if you wanted to as well.
Very cool.
So where else can listeners listen to us? Well, I'm a co-host on the Walking Dead Talk Through with Brian Malaj and Kyle McAdams. We review The Walking Dead and Fear the Walking Dead and The World Beyond when they are on. Right now we're in obviously in a hiatus mode. We're not sure when The Walking Dead, season finale will come, and we'll jumpstart into Fear the Walking Dead and The World Beyond. And until then, we are trying to come up with a few good things. We just had a interview with Lindsley Register, and she just put out a movie called Scorn, so you could actually check out that particular interview on the Walking Dead Talk Through, which you can find through Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. It's also available on Spotify as well as on YouTube. So we kind of threw out the video so you could actually see me and Brian interview Lindsley on
Very
YouTube.
cool. I gotta check that out. I gotta check
we
that out.
did a rough, just like we just threw it out there. So check that out. It's open to the public and anybody can see it. I had fun doing it, and I look forward to doing that hopefully in the near future with a bunch of celebrities. I'm trying to reach out for not just for this podcast, but the other podcasts on Talk Through Media, where you could actually listen to the Walking Dead Talk Through, Fear the Walking Dead Talk Through, Let's Talk Through, or the Picard Cast, or Star Trek Discovery podcast.
You can hear my voice right here, of course, every week on Panels to Pixels, or every other week, depending on how we do with our scheduling, life circumstances. Life things happen, and I send voicemails to TV Podcast Industries. Love those guys over there. They are reviewing Penny Dreadful City of Angels, and they help me out so much. There are so many things that I miss in Penny Dreadful City of Angels, and I'm so thankful for those guys. And in fact, I email them maybe a couple times a week with something that I realized from their podcast that I just absolutely loved. So definitely check them out. Hear me. You can hear my voice on there. As Mark already said, I guest hosted on Strange Indeed last week, so you can find me there. And you never know where my voice is going to pop up.
And for those of you that are interested, if you would like, eventually we'll turn into a Patreon. We're not sure yet, but hopefully one day we could actually do something where it is kind of a community get-together, where if you guys have anything you want to talk to, eventually we'll do that. And then just like with how Steve was talking about podcast industries, a bunch of our friends got together, including Derek, and we just had a night of just hanging out and just talking comic, movies, and shows, things that we love. And that's what we do as friends. So hopefully, eventually, we will be able to bring that through as well with this particular podcast. Whether it be a Patreon or something, I don't know. We'll find out.
That's it.
It's something to work through. And with that, that is our show this evening. Thanks, everybody, for listening. I am Mark.
And I'm Steve.
And this was Panels to Pixels. And we'll see you on the next panel. Good night, everybody.
Good night.